The Cloverfield Paradox is about a group of scientists on a mission to fire a dangerous device that could provide unlimited power for an Earth on the brink of a catastrophic energy war. But this device also runs the risk of tearing the fabric of space-time, sending them into an alternate reality. Hamilton, the main character, is a mother that lost her children from a mistake that she made years before. She's on the ship experimenting with the device while her husband is back on Earth, providing us with a different perspective. When the crew fires the device, it ends up taking them into an alternate universe where the people on this Earth are already at war. Strange things start to happen all over the ship as the crew individually get taken out, Final Destination style. The film, just like the Earth in this universe, is overall a mess. The way it handles character, tone, and especially the entire narrative makes it another Hollywood throwaway movie that has no voice or message that says anything. And that would be all fine and dandy, except this movie exists in a bigger universe. It's the last film in the trilogy that all share the same name, but we don't really know how they're connected. Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane worked as standalone films, but the Cloverfield Paradox had a lot more responsibility. Not only did it need to make sense on its own, but it also needed to tie everything together as the last film in the trilogy should. But is that even possible? Can you even write something to bring this movie back from the depths of your forgotten memory? Well, in this episode of Movie Maintenance, we're going to do the impossible. We're going to give this film a core message, rework the narrative to make sense on its own, and also make sense within the Cloverfield universe. Let's start fixing. Welcome to another episode of Movie Maintenance. I'm your host Joey, and just in case you didn't know, this video is a part 2. In part 1, the Joey from your universe made a couple changes to the film's tone. If you haven't seen that, it's linked below. Also included in the description are timestamps if you want to jump straight to the fixes, but for now, we have some refreshing and catching up to do. Joey, we'll call him Joey 1, was working on a device to make consistent quality content, but since he wasn't making progress on it, he decided to work on a small video to get his mind off of it. So in the mini maintenance, he subbed out the film's opening music from this
Welcome to American Sunrise.
As we open today,
to this. To keep the tone consistent. They made a couple changes to some of the narrative choices.
Right foot, 2 stumps. Left foot, 2 stumps.
We're going to change it to blood that he's throwing up. So now, the crew thinks that's strange, so Monk, the spaceship doctor, performs an autopsy and finds the missing gyro. Then, he gets the sudden revelation to fix something on his device, then this happens.
Oh shit!
Oh, what the fuck? What is that?
Somebody help me, I'm fucking stuck! Shit.
And that's how I got here. Yes, I know it's hard to believe. Even after being here 9 months and 6 days, I still can't believe it. But for the sake of me being new to this audience, I think it's best if you guys get to know me, the Joey from a different universe. Oh, sorry, hold on. It's just a Tinder message. We don't have a Tinder on Myers, so this is pretty exciting. Hey, I'm Joey too. I'm not from around here, so I'm mostly looking for someone to show me around. I enjoy movies, dogs, and long walks on the beach. I also make YouTube videos for a living. I'm mostly looking for someone to distract me from my own feelings of mediocrity and to give me some sense of belonging. 6'3". Let's get tacos. Taco emoji. Sorry about that. Anyways, I'm sure you guys are wondering how it's been living with another version of yourself from a different universe. And to be honest, it's just like living with anybody else. We always play video games together. We watch movies together. We knock out chores together. He washes, I dry. He even helped me get dressed for my first Tinder date. And we're working on a new YouTube series together. But sometimes things get weird. And we get into arguments. Can't believe you like this movie. It's so fun though. Mostly about movies. But all in all, we're doing what we can to get that device back up and running so I can go back home. I really miss my Earth. It's not that special, but it's still mine. Sorry. That's what's been going on with us. And now that you guys are all caught up, we can get back to doing what we're all here to do. The character of Hamilton is such a great starting point for the story. Just like Rob from Cloverfield and Michelle in 10 Cloverfield Lane, she has a broken relationship that she needs to fix, right? Well, almost. At the beginning of the movie, we have Hamilton and her husband Michael waiting in line for gas. They talk about this mission she got asked to go on. He thinks she should go, but she thinks otherwise.
You said you could be back in 6 months.
Do you want me to go?
Joe knows what we've been through, and yet he still wants you on the crew.
There are other comm officers.
Yeah, but he called you.
Why are you pushing this?
Why do you think?
So we have the conflict with the two characters set up in the first 5 minutes of the movie, but that conflict is immediately resolved when the next thing they cut to is her on the mission. So now where is the personal conflict? It's important to bring this up because the roots of the Cloverfield series is all about mending broken relationships, or at least the attempt to. In Cloverfield, Rob and Beth are childhood best friends that recently took things to the next level. The start of the film is them having a good time after spending the night together. Then we cut to Rob's going away party. Conflict. What happened in between the time from that morning and now? If they are together, why is Rob leaving? If they aren't, what happened? This sets up some obvious tension as we hear that Beth is coming to Rob's going away party. So when she shows up, it's with another guy. Conflict. Kind of a dick move, but then we find out what happened.
We gotta talk. you don't know what you're talking about,
well, then
all
tell
right?
me.
It was just a spur-of-the-moment thing.
Yeah, Beth told Lori that after you guys got together, you totally blew her off.
I didn't blow her off.
She said you never called her.
So I'm leaving, all right? So what am I supposed to do?
I don't know, man. She was heartbroken.
But there's no together. It's just her and me, two separate things. It's better if we just stay friends.
The conflict remains. Rob blew off the woman he loves. He made a mistake that needs to be repaired. So now when this happens, we have the main objective of the film that we can get behind. Rob has to overcome a damn monster invasion and risk his life to save the woman he loves.
You came back for me.
Of course I came back for you.
Now imagine if the story was this. The movie starts off the same, with Rob and Beth in bed having a good time, then we cut to the going away party. There's no Travis and everything between Beth and Rob is fine. So when the alien attacks, there's nothing pushing Rob through this story besides survival. Now don't get me wrong, survival is a great motivator, but without Rob's love for Beth, this movie wouldn't have a heart. It would lose everything it's all about. There would be no sacrifice, nothing that would make us want to latch onto Rob. Nothing to make us like him and want him to succeed. His sacrifice is admirable and brave. We have no choice but to care about him and the things he sets after. Also, without that love, it makes the goal less relatable. No one has experienced trying to survive through an alien invasion. So how are we supposed to feel something from that? The goal has to be personal. It has to have something for us to gravitate towards. If we're running on a treadmill, it's better to have that carrot in front of us to chase rather than just having a scary monster to run from. We have to chase something we need, not run from something scary.
She's crazy about you, bro. Like, right now.
Yeah.
As you are.
And you're in love with her.
But you gotta go after her.
It's not that simple.
No, it is that simple.
Come on,
Rob.
man. Don't be scared.
It's about moments, man. That's all that matters. You gotta learn to say, forget the world and hang on to the people that you care about the most.
I got your message, and I'm on my way there.
Hey,
okay?
Rob, listen, you gotta think this through, man, okay? Beth lives in Midtown. Midtown is that way. Guess what else is that way?
Wait up.
Some horrific shit
Guys,
is in
this
Midtown.
is insane, okay? We're not gonna go near that thing, okay? We're not gonna go to the middle of the city.
Rob is now chasing after what he was originally running away from, attempting to correct his mistake. But what takes it to the next level is that added hurdle he has to overcome. Instead of having the monster behind you, you have to now run through the monster to get to someone you care about. You have to slay the dragon to save the princess. In the Cloverfield Paradox, what mistake did Hamilton make? What is she chasing besides her own survival and the survival of the human race? What makes us feel a connection to the story? What can we do to make this character a strong foundation to build the narrative on? The answer to that is this. Hamilton and her husband need to be on bad terms. In the beginning of the film, we see by Hamilton's reaction to her husband saying,
I miss you more every day. Like I miss them.
we assume her kids are dead. This is a lot for couples to go through, and I would imagine it'd be even worse if it was at the fault of one of the parents.
We can't go back in time and know what we know now.
Later in the film, we find out Hamilton was siphoning off energy to her home so her kids can have a nightlight when they slept, and that inevitably set the house on fire, killing them. Something nice but risky she was doing for her kids turned into a complete nightmare. In the film, this has no motivation for the character and her actions. Before the final act, when she finds out that her kids are still alive in this alternate universe, she decides she's going to stay behind when the crew figures out how to go back home, but then at the end she decides to just send a message to her alternate self telling her not to siphon power. So she was about to go see and save her kids, which would be a mistake because there's already another Hamilton there and she would also be abandoning her husband, but she decides to overcome it and not go through with it. But that all falls apart when she sends a message because she could have just done that the entire time. It just ends up making no sense. You could take out the death of her children and it wouldn't affect the events of the rest of the film at all. Whereas in Cloverfield, if you take out Rob going to save the woman he loves, the narrative completely changes. The death of your own kids, something so deep and personal, is used poorly as a cheap trick to pull on your heartstrings. It's completely undeserved and has no relation to the actions in the film. It's really important that we build a character that will make sense within this narrative and also make sense as a person on her own. She has to be applicable to reality in this fictional world. She has to have some sense of humanity to carry a narrative that is trying to say something about it. Before we build the new narrative of the Cloverfield Paradox, we need to build a new character that matches the Cloverfield theme. We are going to keep the backstory of Hamilton and her kids, but the relationship with her husband is now in ruins. As a result of her marriage being destroyed, she decides to go on this mission that could save humanity. But her personal reason for going isn't to save the world, it's to run away from it. She's running away from her own mistakes and her relationship because she can't bear the responsibility of what she's done. She can't look into the father of her children's eyes without seeing them. She can't look into a mirror, so she distracts herself with the biggest task imaginable, saving the world. This simple change gives us a huge potential for an arc of personal redemption. Now we have a broken character with broken relationships that she can repair, or at least attempt to repair. This gives the character a huge flaw that she needs to confront, and her confronting this would save more people than she knows. The traumas of her past, of taking a risk with siphoning energy, completely changes her as a person. She's too traumatized to take simple risks because the last one ended in the worst case scenario. So now in the formula for character change, W times A equals C, or weakness times action equals change, we have the weakness, controlled by her past, shame, and self-sabotage. Then in the case for character structure within a story, we have the foundation that we can build upon that also stays true to what the Cloverfield series is about. We found the central element. We found what pumps blood into the series and what will bring life into our new film. Oh, hey. Hey, that was really good. I like this whole new setup thing that you're doing. You watching the entire time? No, just the end bit. Want to film chapter 2? I'm good. I'm just taking a break right now. How's that going? It's the same. I don't really know what I'm doing wrong, so. Anyway, I should let you get back to it. Alright. If we are going to rewrite a Cloverfield movie, we should know what a Cloverfield movie is, right? We should know the key features that distinguish it from other films. In the last chapter, we found that mending broken relationships is the heart of the Cloverfield series, but what about everything else? What other elements are key to paying respect to this franchise? Let's see if we could find some common denominators. Cloverfield, a broken relationship between two lovers start the story. An argument at a going away party forces Beth to leave. Then an alien attacks the city, forcing Rob into realizing that he has to save the love of his life despite being on bad terms with her. So he heads through the city, going through streets and subways to save Beth. 10 Cloverfield Lane. A broken relationship between two lovers starts the story. The intro sequence shows the protagonist gathering her things from an apartment and leaving behind a wedding ring. One car crash later, Michelle is locked up in a bunker with a very strange man that tells her life above is over, and that is most likely due to an alien invasion. She obviously doesn't trust him, so she spends the whole movie trying to escape and get back to whatever is left of her life. Okay, so what can we gather just from that short little synopsis side by side? 1, a broken relationship between lovers, got that already. 2, mystery. In Cloverfield, we don't know a thing about the monster attacking the city. We don't cut away to some scientist in the lab that explains how this thing is just an experiment that went wrong. We have no idea where this thing came from. Even at the end, when we see footage of Rob and Beth's date, the camera looks over to the ocean and we see a small something fall out of the sky. And in 10 Cloverfield Lane, we don't know if we could trust Howard, Michelle's captor. He sounds like a paranoid conspiracy theorist that kidnapped a woman to live out his fantasy of having a daughter to look after.
When I found out about the incoming attack, I got frantic. I knew I needed to get back here as soon as possible, so I was driving like a maniac. I tried to pass you, and I'm the reason you went off the road.
Then 3, aliens. They both have aliens in them, but arguably that's the worst part of 10 Cloverfield Lane. The entire film centers around the characters being stuck together and unraveling the mystery of what is really going on above ground. Once Michelle escapes, the answer is shoved in our face with an out-of-place alien fight scene. It just derails what the movie was about and would have been tied up fine if Michelle broke out of the bunker after defeating the villain and setting off to find out what was going on and if her ex-fiance is still alive. Confined spaces. Between traveling through subways and being trapped in a bunker, things feel pretty claustrophobic. In Cloverfield, this gives us the sense of only 2 options, going back or going forward, the same dilemma the characters face. For Michelle in Cloverfield Lane, we feel how trapped she is in the bunker, with people she doesn't even know or trust. And 5, perspective. We never experience the story from any other perspective other than our main character. We only experience the story as they do. We also never leave the bunker in Cloverfield Lane till Michelle does, and only acquire knowledge about her captor when she gets the information.
Wait, that's not Megan.
What do you mean?
Yeah, her name is Brittany. I remember her. She went to high school with my little sister. She went missing 2 years back.
Okay, so it looks like we've created a small list for the main components of a Cloverfield movie. Let's see how Paradox stacks up in comparison. A broken relationship between lovers? Well, we already established in Chapter 1 that Paradox is missing this. Mystery. Paradox has a lot of strange things happen on the ship, but we know why they're happening. That really doesn't count as mystery. Aliens. At the very end, just like 10 Cloverfield Lane, confined spaces. For the most part, the crew is stuck on this ship, but what about her husband that we cut to on Earth? Perspective. We cut to her husband on Earth, breaking the potential sense of claustrophobia that the crew feels being on the ship.
Until I say otherwise, this is where you stay! You're trusting her and not me! You need me, Keel! Keel!
Citywide destruction has been reported stretching from the downtown area to the residential suburbs.
Michael, are you safe?
No, I'm headed to the hospital.
Ouch. 1.5 points out of 5. This movie is 30% of a Cloverfield movie, but at least now we have a solid list of what to follow when constructing our new paradox. We're almost done. There's just one main bit that needs to be mentioned, the ARGs. An ARG is an alternate reality game that uses the real world as a platform for the game, but has a fictional story behind it. It heavily relies on changes based on what the players decide to do as they interact with the characters from the story and collaborate within communities to solve puzzles and challenges. So for example, in the first Cloverfield ARG, someone bought a piece of merch, and when they received it in the mail, it had a cryptic note in it, causing online discussion and then starting off the beginning of the game. Players would find websites and gather information, then eventually unlock more clues, continuing the story before the movie even came out. It gave the people who cared about this world a chance to find out more than what the movies showed. The reason why I bring this up is because these ARGs told us a story that the Cloverfield Paradox completely contradicted. There's a lot to the ARG story, so I'm not going to get into all of it, but if you are interested in the full story, the channel Inside of Mind has a couple great videos going into the details of the ARG storyline, which I link below. But for the sake of this video, I'm only going to mention what's directly relevant to our story. Basically, the Cloverfield monster came from the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean and was woken up when a drilling station decided to drill there. The monster is a baby, and it is theorized that the aliens from who knows where planted eggs at the bottom of the ocean and have been monitoring it with the satellite that orbits Earth. Then the events of 10 Cloverfield Lane happened because the aliens that planted the little baby monster eggs came back to either take revenge on us for killing the monster or to come collect the rest of the eggs or something. This is the main bit of info that we need to keep our story consistent with what is happening in the Cloverfield universe. Now you see how this doesn't line up with the story of the Cloverfield Paradox, saying aliens came from a different universe due to the device that tore the fabric of space-time. All in all, this issue of setting something up without knowing the payoff seems to be a common creative issue of J.J. Abrams, the producer of the Cloverfield movies, and the one who created the Cloverfield monster. In his work, it shows that there's great promise to the start of his stories, but rarely any payoff when it comes to the conclusion. This is shown several times throughout his career, the most recent being the new Star Wars trilogy. The Force Awakens was nothing but a safe setup for a grand story to unfold, but what came after was two different directors pulling at the wheel, steering the story in a different direction. There was no grand plan or overarching story that was agreed upon, so what we got in the end just seemed like someone turned in an essay the night before the due date. Now, I haven't seen Lost, but what I have heard is that it suffers from the same issue of what I just stated. Great promise, but a lack of substance or payoff.
So one of the things that I bought at the magic store was this, Tannen's Mystery Magic Box. Now, I bought this decades ago, and I'm not kidding. If you look at this, you'll see it's never been opened. But I've had this forever. Now, I was looking at this, it was in my office, and as it always is, on the shelf, and I was thinking, why have I not opened this? And why have I kept it? Because I'm not a pack rat, I don't keep everything, but for some reason I haven't opened this box. And I felt like there was a key to this somehow, in talking about something at TED that I haven't discussed before and bored people elsewhere. So I thought, maybe there's something with this. I started thinking about it, and there was this giant question mark. I love the design, for what it's worth, of this thing. And I started thinking, why haven't I opened it? And I realized that I haven't opened it because it represents something important to me. The thing is that it represents infinite possibility. It represents hope. It represents potential. And what I love about this box, and what I realized I sort of do in whatever it is that I do, is I find myself drawn to infinite possibility and that sense of potential. And I realize that mystery is the catalyst for imagination. Now, it's not the most groundbreaking idea, but when I started to think that maybe there are times when mystery is more important than knowledge, I started getting interested in this. And so I started thinking about Lost and the stuff that we do, and I realized, oh my God, like mystery boxes are everywhere in what I do. And how, in the creation of Lost, Damon Lindelof and I, who created the show with me, we were...
I want to be clear, this isn't me shitting on JJ or anything like that. I respect the man. I just think there's a better way to handle mystery and story, and that this way of writing just backs you into a corner, all for the sake of a good teaser. It's all promise with no substance. It ends up diminishing everything the writers put into building it because it's built to fail, just like the Cloverfield franchise. You alright? Yeah, it's just, no, not really. You want to talk about it? Not really. Alright. It's just this goddamn device. Every time I think I get close to fixing it and figuring it out, nope. It just keeps breaking and not wanting to work. And it seems like it wants to do it on purpose. And like it's freaking taunting me. Like every day I come out here and I try to tackle it and it's just in my face taunting me, reminding me how I'm just failing. Listen, man, I know it's annoying when people tell you the answers to your own problems, so I won't. But I know you know the answer.
Jack Rental Controls, 8636. Line secure.
Accelerator system status.
Holding for pre-ignition.
Shepard team, you are go for countdown.
The movie starts off with the view of Earth from space as the ship begins to float in frame. The crew starts the device, but it fails. Then we get a quick montage just like in the film of them trying over and over, but getting the same result. The crew takes some time rethinking the machine, feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders. Then we cut to them trying again, but this time the machine seems to be steady.
What's our output?
We have positive energy flow for the first time. Look at this. Look at this.
Holy shit, you did it!
It's working. We are focused at 47 teravolts.
Oh, man! Hamilton view screen mode. Yes! Oh, look at that! Oh, yeah.
The crew celebrates, but then the proximity sensors on the ship go off. They look out of one of the windows and see a ship that resembles theirs floating in their direction. They all rush to their stations to try and avoid the collision, but it's too late. We slow fade into a short montage of Hamilton and Keel fixing up the ship. They have a silent funeral for their fellow crew members. Then we cut to a scene of them still working on the ship, talking. In the middle of their conversation, they hear something at one of the windows. They turn around and see what seems to be a woman in a spacesuit knocking at the window. They rush up to get a better look. Hamilton can't believe her eyes. She's staring at herself. Then we cut to Hamilton 2 resting. Hamilton 1 and Keel are having a discussion about the strange event and conclude they got sent into another universe. Hamilton 2 wakes up, so Hamilton 1 goes to talk to her. Hamilton 2 tells her about the company she works for, that they are experimenting with the same energy device back on Earth, but her Earth isn't having an energy crisis. They just want to be the lead company when it comes to providing energy. After Hamilton 1 hears all about why she was up in space, she asks if her kids are still alive in this universe. Hamilton 2 confirms her kids are still alive, and the fire that burnt the house down never happened. After some time, the three-man crew starts salvaging parts from Hamilton 2's ship, so they can get the device back up and running. While the two Hamiltons spend a lot of time working on the ship, they start learning everything about each other. Hamilton sees Hamilton 2 as a better version of herself, with her Earth intact, her marriage going strong, and her kids alive and well. Hamilton 2 learns about our Hamilton's life and the tragedies she has faced. She can clearly see that she's a broken woman running from her past. The ship and device is now ready to go. Keel and Hamilton 2 are ready to start up the device, but Hamilton stops them. She can't stand the idea of the device working and sending them back to their universe. It would mean that Hamilton 2 would never see her kids again. It would turn her ideal self into her, and she can't have that happen. Hamilton 2 tries to calm her down, but it doesn't work. Not until Keel chimes in saying he knows how to get the machine to get them back to their universe. Keel reveals to our Hamilton that he messed with her department because the device kept failing. All other departments tried experimenting to try and yield a different result, but her department was the only one remaining the same. It was the only thing he thought would work. He knew she would never try and risk something new, and he made a mistake letting her come on the mission. This is when it hits her. She realizes that she took the job not to try and save her world, but to run from it. With her revelation and seeing a better version of herself who has everything she wants and is still willing to take risks and confront her fears, she comes up with a plan. They will fire the device, testing to see if it works, and if it does, they will send Hamilton 2 down in an escape pod, then have Keel mess with the device the same way he did before and send them back to their universe. So in quick succession, we see them prep the device, then fire it. It works. Then we see Hamilton helping Hamilton 2 with the pod. They say their goodbyes, and Hamilton 2 reminds her who she really is. She isn't a terrible mother. She isn't a terrible wife. She isn't a terrible person. She made a mistake that deserves forgiveness. And the only way to start on a path of redemption is by accepting it. Nothing can ever change what she has lost, but what can change, what she can change, is how she moves forward. She can become the person she wants to become, but first she has to believe she is worth it. It has to start with her. It has to come from within. Hamilton 2 heads off in the pod. Keel fires the device. They get back to their universe, fire the device, then head down in a pod. The music swells as we cut from Hamilton in a space pod and Hamilton 2 in hers. They are both going back to their worlds with each other in their hearts.
Come on. Admit it, you are gonna miss me a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah, we'll see.
Okay, yeah, all right, we're almost out of tape. We got like 3 seconds left. What do you want to say? What do you want to say? Last thing to the king.
I had a good day.
Alright, let's get you home. Really? You fixed it? Yeah, come on. Grab the device. Over here. Then on the X. X marks the spot. Alright. I don't even see why we're in such a big rush. How'd you fix it anyway? It was in here. It's always been in here. Go ahead. Turn it on. Thank you for everything. Hey guys, I just want to say thank you so much for waiting so long for this video. I know it's been about a year and a half, give or take, but I really do appreciate everyone who's stuck by this channel and has waited so patiently for this part 2 of this video. I also want to thank the people that helped bring this video to life. Lucas for doing the incredible score, the music to this video. He really helped bring the personality out and gave it a sense of continuous movement and rhythm. Also Sam Saxton for doing the incredible storyboards that you saw in Chapter 3. He really helped bring the visual aspect alive and helped me convey my idea to you guys. Sam's links are down below in the description if you want to hire him for any storyboard needs that you guys have. Also Lucas's link is down below as well for all of his music. Then I also want to thank Alex, my brother, for helping me with the camera work for the end of Chapter 3. It was a really hot day, and it took quite a long time, and I really do appreciate it, so thank you. Also, if you guys want to spend $20 on some signature merch, first channel merch ever, the Juicy Juice collection. In collab, not officially, with the Cloverfield franchise. If you guys want to snag this shirt, link is also down below. It would really help support the channel, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you again for making it to the end of the video. I have some cool stuff coming in the future, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys again. Thanks.